Namaste dosto. So the situation is not getting any better with coronavirus. If you are staying in big cities like Bombay, you see that the new patients are coming up in each building, in each society almost every other day. And if you're staying in more isolated areas like I am staying in Korba in Chhattisgarh, you see that the cases are increasing exponentially. So if it was 10 last week, it is plus 100 today, it will be plus 1000 the other week. ऐसे में students like you and me often come across this question that what can we do about the situation, and are we abandoned by the government, or what is next? A lot of uncertainties come across our mind. So of course we are abandoned by our government, because of which Swaraj India has come up with a 100-day Mission Jai Hind plan. So what is Mission Jai Hind? Mission Jai Hind is basically a 100-day drive, a 100-day program in which we students would create awareness drive across our localities, and also we'll hold these government accountable for whatever is going wrong. By hearing this program, this drive, a lot of question comes across our mind that how will it function, what is in it for us youth. All of these questions were very extensively asked by me to Mr. Avik of Swaraj India. He have answered all those questions very eloquently, very honestly. So I would like to post that video up for all of my viewers to see that how can they participate in Mission Jai Hind and how can they contribute into it. I hope you enjoy this video. The links of everything required, everything talked about in that video is in my description. And if you do like it, do like the channel of Swaraj India, do follow Youth for Swaraj, do follow you, Mr. Yogendra Yadav, Mr. Avik, in case if you are not following them already, and do subscribe to my channel as well.
One thing that this pandemic has shown us is how rotten, how utterly, completely broken our healthcare system is. The right wing did not even acknowledge the independence. The left wing said that ye azadi jhoota hai. And the right wing did not fly the tricolor, did not believe in any of the emblems that it is so hard in trying to sell today for their vote banks. To recreate, revive the republic that is being snatched away from us right from under our nose by very incompetent, by very uncaring, by India and Indian hating people.
So, welcome to you, and good evening everyone who is joining us in this live today. We are here to talk about Mission Jai Hind, and thanks for joining in. So Mission Jai Hind is basically about a citizen-based initiative, as far as I know, where we create awareness and provide opportunities to the citizen to hold government accountable. So, sir, my first question to you would be to throw some light upon Mission Jai Hind and why Mission Jai Hind.
For the last few months, let's say after the Janta curfew, we've been all waiting to see how things pan out. Everybody understood that this is a new situation. Nobody has a lot of experience in dealing with it. But we expected that the government knows best. And there is an administration in this country which knows how to deal with crisis. Unfortunately, in the 110 days that have passed since, it is clear to everyone that the government did not know what to do. The administration was not responding to the urgent crisis, issues of life and death. And there was only dismay and amazement all around that how can this happen? How can 700 people die traveling on the road, walking back from their place of work to their home, thousands of kilometers away? How can people die of starvation? So, some of us felt that this was time for us to shake ourselves out of this, this self-induced belief that there is a system, and to take charge of things ourselves and to do things ourselves. This is the genesis, the foundation of Mission Jai Hind. It is, if you can put it in 3 words, it will be response, responsibility, and revival of the nation. these three words sort of encompass what Mission Jai Hind is.
Hmm. So, response, responsibility, and uh, so what was the last word?
Revival of the nation.
Survival of the country. So, at the time when the government and all the official, the state governments also included, we find that they are completely incapable of doing, of providing us, of overcoming this pandemic, of providing its people, of being accountable. We are taking upon this charge. We are going to respond. We are going to take responsibility, and we are taking the charge of revival of this nation. So how? So my question is, how do we think that we can make it possible when the government has completely failed us? When we are, well, it almost seems like we and the government are not on the same side of it. So what is to be done in Mission Jai Hind by the people?
Let us divide the nation into two parts. Those who are better off and those who are not better off. It's time for those who are better off. And better off just doesn't mean in terms of money. It could be money, it could be time, it could be energy. Those who are better off now need to fan out through the country and reach out to those who are not so better off. When I say fan out, I don't mean they have to physically fan out. In areas where COVID is not so bad, of course you must physically go. But it is even possible to reach out to people through virtual medium today with today's technology. So when those with more privileges, more time, and more resources stand with those who do not have these advantages, a movement begins. That's the first point. That's the first stepping stone. Now, what do? We first inform about what we know. Then we get informed about what the ground conditions are, what we don't know. Then we work to build a solution where certain aspects of it, which must come from government by law, by policy, we chase those resources, we chase the government on those issues. And finally, we build a resilient system outside the dependence on political parties, outside the dependence of workers of political parties, outside the dependence of state administration and machinery. Because I must also add here that this is a political journey. This is not an ascetic going into the forest to seek nirvana. This is a political journey. This is a political awakening for every citizen, so that we now take charge and go into that third word, which is revival of the nation. It's very clear that revival cannot take place in the hands of those who are trying the old tricks again and again and again.
So this is true that the revival will not be possible by the old tricks and by the old politics, even of the opposition. So basically what you are saying is, to collecting information, to by performing in the ground, by helping people out, by we at least for the situation of this pandemic, we are aiming to create a parallel government, so as to say, a parallel to the of course, when the government is completely failing us, we are doing everything which the government should be doing. So in a way, we are from the lower management to the higher authority, we are sort of creating a parallel to the government. How is that going to operate? How will we have the manforce? How will it is quite an ambitious plan. I'm so sorry if I'm sounding very.
No. You've used a good word, parallel, and I think viewers should understand this. We are not creating, not even imagining that we shall create a parallel government. The word parallel government scares governments very much. All the Naxalite movements run parallel governments, and they are according to the government, the biggest threat to internal security. Even yesterday, the central government wrote to the Nagaland chief secretary saying that you are not following the law, and in many places in Nagaland, parallel governments are running. No, Saumya. We are not planning a parallel government. We are going to work with people side by side to show them the alternative so that they do not believe that the existing political parties, whether in power or in opposition, are the only alternative. The phenomena called TINA, there is no alternative. We wish to break that by creating a people-driven, people-created, people-generated, and people-led alternative. That is what we are trying to do. We will not establish any parallel to any system of the governance. We cannot create a parallel because this system needs to go. We don't want any system that even reflects or even vaguely looks like this system. This system has collapsed. For the first time since India's independence, a pandemic of this nature. Remember, we did have a pandemic, an all India pandemic in 1918 to 1920, but that was before independence. The British government handled it and handled it very poorly. 5% of India's people died. So this was our chance to see how our democratically elected governments react to a crisis of this nature. And we all know to the last person that the governments have completely and utterly failed, not because they tried and this was too much. They didn't even try. So that is what the people need to understand, be aware of, and they must never again fall into the trap of this model of governance, this model of politics, this model of administration. So no parallels. We are going to create a new model of governance, and this is the first baby step in that direction.
Very nicely put, sir, that we are not seeking towards making a parallel or even a vaguely resembling replacement of the current scenario. Rather, we are seeking out to have an alternative in the public space, in the healthcare system, in the narratives of people. And so while doing that, while going forward with Mission Jai Hind, will there also be dialogue with government, or it would be devoid of any such dialogue?
Oh, there will be intense engagement with the government.
Okay.
You see, this government, every government, in whether the center or at the state, has formulated policy, created law, and is therefore responsible for implementation of the policy and the law. What we are seeing is non-implementation. The responsibility for implementation lies with the non-political executive, who we, through our taxes, hire for our work. So our elected representatives, as well as those we have hired to do our work, are not doing their work. So we will engage with them at every point, at every entitlement, at every policy failure. We will engage, we will demand. So I want you to remember the second word. I said, what was the first word? We will respond, that is engage with people. Then?
Responsibility.
Yes. So responsibility is what we shall pin on the government and the administration. We shall ask sharp questions. We shall compel the government to respond. We shall compel the government to take responsibility. So yes, there will be substantial engagement, and many of those who are sitting in chairs of power today will wish that something like Mission Jai Hind had never been started, because we are about to take them to task. We are about to make them answer and respond to the duties that we have given to them and for which we pay them very, very handsomely.
Hmm. So my next question is coming from the perspective of a student activist who, in my environment, I see a lot of left organization in the universities who come up with all sort of allegations on being soft nationalist and all of that. So when we announce Mission Jai Hind and when we say that we are going to have engagement with the government and dialogue with the government, and when we go and seek out an alternative, there is also a wave around it in which a lot of people also allegate us that we are bowing down to the government. We are not opposing them, rather we are trying to like help them create a event of or such a thing out of the pandemic, and not actually be as fierce as we should be. So I would like you to um, enlighten us about how actually acting upon the situation is not creating event out of the pandemic, but it is more powerful way to oppose the government than to just criticize it. Because what Mission Jai Hind is actually about, that we are now done and dusted with criticizing the government, and now it's time to act upon it.
So I hear two questions. One is Jai Hind playing the ultra nationalist tune and pandering to public, majoritarianism? That's your first question. And the second question is that are we, by creating Mission Jai Hind, simply creating an event out of a tragedy that the nation is facing?
Yes.
Let me get to the first one. Many young people do not remember and do not know, were not told that everything that is labeled ultra nationalist today, including the name Jai Hind, were shunned by the extreme right, by the right wing and the left wing. It belonged to the center. It belonged to Indians who wanted independence and were willing to battle the British, but on civilized terms, on terms of peace, on terms of non-violence. It is our property. It is our intellectual right. The right wing did not even acknowledge the independence. The left wing said that ye azadi jhoota hai. So these people, I am not going to listen to any criticism of whether Jai Hind is nationalist or not from those who were abusing the word Jai Hind right from the beginning. And the right wing did not fly the tricolor, did not believe in any of the emblems that it is so hard in trying to sell today for their vote banks. So Jai Hind belongs to the people of India, is a call, is a call that comes from my soul, from my heart, and makes me feel the Indian that I am. And Jai Hind, I will not give up for anyone's criticism, left or right. It is mine anyway. So no ultra-nationalism is being projected. We are simply taking back what belongs to us and that was stolen from us by the ultra-right wing of India today. Now, on the second issue of whether we are creating an event, every action that you take to raise the voice of people, to gather people, to create a movement, can be criticized as drama, can be criticized as an event. Can we say that the gathering that took place in Jallianwala Bagh, despite what the British claim were or prohibitory orders to gather, was an event? Can we say that Gandhi's almost 1 year long satyagraha in Champaran was an event? The answer is, if you wish to look at it as an event, yes, it is, but it was created to serve a much larger purpose. And so is Jai Hind. It is a well-planned, well-designed blueprint to recreate, revive the republic that is being snatched away from us, right from under our nose, by very incompetent, by very uncaring, by India and Indian hating people. So if need be, we shall orchestrate this. And for those to whom it looks like an event, my answer is, why don't you come within it, feel inspired by the call of Jai Hind, and then ask yourself whether it's an event or not.
Yes, sir. So the next question follows from that only, that why don't we come and join in? Being a youth and being from university, my question would be, how can university students and how can the youth join Mission Jai Hind, and in what capacity they can?
I am taking it that all students are attending classes today, whether online, whether offline, however it is happening, it is happening. So how does a student serve her or his country at this hour of need? Thankfully for us, sitting in 2020, there are so many ways of working even while sitting at home. Look at us. You are sitting in Chandigarh, I'm sitting in Kolkata, and we are talking, sharing, discussing, and creating something together. All those who have joined us in this Facebook Live are participating in that joint creation. So, first you have to take a decision. Do I want to give so many hours a day to my country? If the answer from within you is yes, you have completed, you have overcome the first hurdle. The biggest hurdle today is to find people who want to give time for public causes. 70 years of constant consumerism hammering has made us all very, very selfish, individualistic, and we have lost one of the greatest treasures of India, its communitarian ethos. We survived, we were a great civilization, we continue to be a great civilization because of our community feeling, because of our community structuring. Most of Europe broke down quickly because of lack of communitarian ethos. Most of Europe has, led colonization and the two world wars, because of the lack of their communitarian ethos. So if students are told about, reminded of, and inculcated with this communitarian ethos, and decide to give a few hours a day, bingo, we've started the journey. This entire exercise, when we are reaching out to the whole country, means we need so many people. Let's say even if one person is able to reach out to 50 people, so we need 1/50th of the population to be working on Mission Jai Hind. That's the number of people we need. And every student can get into this, work either in and around the mohallas in which they stay, or travel in the villages where they are. Most of us, many of us are locked up in our villages. We are not traveling back to the cities and colleges wherever we were. And to stand with the people. The key thing is to stand with the people. Believe me, when you stand with people in their time of need, the empathy and the human bond that grows is unshakable, unbreakable. So students can start with online virtual work, and those who can give time, who are nearer villages, can do offline work also. It's a few hours a day, not more than 4 hours a day. And look, I have been a student too, of course, many, many decades ago. I don't believe any of us as students were so busy that we didn't have 4 hours to spare a day. So give 4 hours a day, Give 2 days a weekend. Go out to your neighborhood. Sit on your computer, sit on your phone, spread the message, work on designs, work on pamphlets, work on social media propagation, and you are doing, you are a freedom fighter. You are working to liberate your country from the clutches of those who hate your country and who are destroying your country.
So the youth and the students may not, so as you've said that there's nothing better than standing with the people of your country, and that empathy you feel is unshakable. But in the beginning, the student and the youth may not know how to stand with the people or how to do the work that we are given. So would there be any training of sorts, or would there be any directions by which students and the youth can know what to do and how to do it, by which they can learn it?
These are the processes. There will be a very informative website of Mission Jai Hind. It'll be launched in a day or two. There will be extensive mass training of volunteers over virtual media, over video. Mass training. It'll be a 2-hour, 3-hour training. That's the first condition. If you want to join Mission Jai Hind, you must get trained about it first. That's a common cold and cough. I don't have that. And there will be a lot of training material. One thing good about students being part of Jai Hind is they're in the habit of reading anyway. So there will be a lot of reading material, there will be a lot of audiovisual material, there will be a lot of training. So the day you step out of your house to do work for Mission Jai Hind, the day you tap in the first key to do virtual work for Mission Jai Hind, you are trained, you are clear about what you are doing, why you are doing, and you will have no doubts about how to do what you are doing.
Yes, sir. Also, that you coughed in between, it reminded me of the volunteers who would be working with Mission Jai Hind. They'd also be susceptible to catching the COVID themselves. Do we have any plan or any support system for the volunteers itself who would be out there supporting the nation?
One category of people we do not want to have as volunteers are doctors. We want all doctors and medical students to be in the health centers where they are working. The first item of Mission Jai Hind is to be aware of COVID. When I go to a village, I will speak, even if it's for 5 minutes, about how dangerous this disease is, how infectious it is, what precautions we must take. Believe you me, a very large percentage of the population, even today, believe it's a disease which the rich got from abroad and it affects only the rich. We, the poor, living in villages, will not get COVID. This is a mass prevalent belief. We must break that, because when the rich get COVID, they will have access to good treatment. When the poor get COVID, they will not have this access. One thing that this pandemic has shown us is how rotten, how utterly, completely broken our healthcare system is. So, COVID is going to be the first issue. We will speak about methods to prevent COVID. We will share information extensively about the processes to follow if someone is feeling unwell and may suspect that he or she has COVID. Nearest health centers. And those of us who are going out and spreading this message, we have to be so careful. We must live every letter of the alphabet that we are talking and preaching. So going forward, if we are very careful about ourselves, I don't think we can get infected. As you know, this infection happens due to certain issues, due to certain ways of passing it on. And so long as we guard ourselves against those ways, like masks, like gloves, like maintaining our physical distances, we should not have anyone affected by COVID due to Mission Jai Hind. But does that mean that I'm giving a guarantee that if you work for Mission Jai Hind, you will not get COVID. Of course not. I am just human. Nobody in the world has the capacity to give such a guarantee. So, to all volunteers, I will request again and again, if you are on a scale of 10, if you are careful at the level of 6 now, when you're working in Jai Hind, take your care level up to 9, self-care level up to 9, and make sure that you don't get affected. You, being infected or not infected is in your hands. Make sure that you wash your hands, sanitize your hands, and keep yourself safe from COVID.
Yes, sir. Apart from the health aspect of this pandemic, there is also a economic aspect to it. The economy has slowed down even more, and I'll tell you a story. There was a house help in our one of our relatives' house in Noida, and she caught COVID. And her husband, her sister, her sister's husband, everybody around that house lost their jobs. We do not face, like, the privileged people like us do not face the economic aspect of it like that. And like, that family also paid 1 lakh rupee for her treatment in some private hospital in Noida. So how, while we are reviving this country out of pandemic, we also need to revive it economically. And we also need to see that there's no prejudice or there's no discrimination with the COVID patients. What are our plans for achieving that?
We have a 7-point plan for reviving India. One of the points in that plan is that the government must ensure, from testing up to complete healing, COVID care for every citizen of the country who needs that help. So we will not only demand it, we will stand with people and ensure that they get this help. Today, the policy is very much that if they are poor and they have COVID, stuff them into quarantine. Let them, either die or let their own immunity save them. All these photographs of big quarantine centers is all utter rubbish. I work with villagers at village level. Even yesterday, somebody was taken to a quarantine center because he has COVID. It's a young person of 20. He sent videos and photographs from there. The filth that they are living in, the boy was saying that whatever illness I have, I may or may not die from that. But the other illnesses I get from here, I will surely die of. So, coming back to the point, so economic revival first will start with the health revival, where the government must take responsibility, and we will push it down the government's throat and make them take responsibility. Economic revival is a very, very complicated, difficult question because we live in modern societies with complex economies. We do not have a quick fix solution to the economy, unlike our Prime Minister, who is every other day promising that resolution is around the corner. In the next 7 days, everything will be okay. Mahabharat took 18 days. In 21 days, I'm taking 3 days extra. We will banish COVID from the country. These are foolish people saying foolish things. Revival of the economy is an uncertain terrain. Revival of the world economy is an uncertain terrain. And I don't know how India can pretend that it lives outside this earth and has an economic revival plan which is different from the rest of the world. Today, there were reports of a downtown in Singapore to the extent of 41%. Their GDP will fall 41%. Currently, if you ask me, the word revival of the economy is not in my thinking. I am talking about somehow sustaining people through this difficult time, which means basic food, shelter, healthcare, and ensuring that nobody falls between the cracks. Economic revival of India is connected to economic revival of many of the other major countries of the world, and we will go to it maybe a few months down the line. But today, everybody must survive this pandemic. They must not die of hunger. They must have basic necessities. And this country, I assure you, from calculations, not out of any inspiration, has enough resources, if well shared, for us to survive this pandemic, even if it stays for 1 year. And from existing reports, it seems that at least that duration will be here. So for the next 1 year, we'll hold tight, hold each other, and survive this. We will get the economy going after we are out of this.
Yes, sir. So when we were speaking about the youth and student being able to contribute 3-4 hours a day in their localities or in their home, if they have that inspiration in them that they do want to work for the people and the nation. My question here is that there will be some students, some youth who will have this inspiration, who will want to do a lot for the country actually, who will also have the time, but not the economic independence to do it. So if I have to go to another town and ask people and to tell them and make them aware, it would cost me. It would cost me the transportation, the resources, the microphones in there, and everything. So if the posters, the purchase, everything. So all of that, if I pay, will that be reimbursed, or because of my incapacity to not be able to pay it, I cannot be the volunteer? What is our system to operate to these aspects?
I start by saying that anybody who wants to serve her or his country should never be deprived of the chance, of the opportunity of doing so for any reason. However, one thing you said which struck me, and I want to immediately caution all viewers: we do not wish volunteers to travel great distances. We want you to work in and around your locality, 20, 30, 40 kilometers, not more than that.
Okay, sir.
What is important is that this movement requires certain material. For those who are unable to self-generate the material, I sent you, let's say, a pamphlet, and I ask you to print 100 copies, and you say, I don't have money to print it. Perhaps we will get a pool of donors, not perhaps, we will try to get a pool of donors who may not be physically being able to do something, but they can donate, 100 rupees, 200 rupees. We can connect the worker with the donor and provide those funds for promotional material. But everybody is doing this because they are Indian and they love India. They are doing it for their motherland. So nobody can expect to get paid for this work. It's just not possible. It's a contradiction in terms to be paid for service to your nation. So that's not happening. Small help, small support, as and when the needs come up, we will design and create some methods to attend it. Travel, transport, etc. are not required because that's not the model we will follow. Have I been able to clarify,
Yes,
answer
sir.
your question?
Very rightly, sir. Also, while I was going through the PowerPoint presentation of Mission Jai Hind, and the FAQs and PowerPoint presentation would be in the description of this live, and after we'll post it. It is already in the Swaraj India's page for the viewers. There was a line about students will be getting recommendation letters from the university. So I just wanted to put it out there for the students who are watching this. So my last question, after this we'll go to the audience if there are any question from the viewers. So there is always a struggle, always this question which comes up, that are we trying to politicize this pandemic? Are we trying to politicize this Well, the first question was about are we trying to get an event out of it, which you answered very well. But then there will be apolitical people who would be criticizing it that we are doing this for our own votes. We are trying to become a big political party. We are trying to politicize it, and we are just criticizing the government and not actually supporting it or anything like that. So I would like you to share your views on such allegations of politicizing this pandemic.
Swaraj India is a political party. It practices democratic electoral politics. Swaraj India is one of the proponents of Mission Jai Hind. So, yes, it is definitely, and I said this before at the beginning of this session, that it is an intensely political movement. Swaraj India believes that politics is our yug dharma. Now that we've got so used to our democracy, we forget that just about 100 years ago, we were not allowed to practice politics, to participate in politics. It was the domain of kings and noblemen. Yet today, yet after independence, now that we have our own country and we are allowed to practice politics, so quickly we turn around and say politics is dirty and I don't want to do anything with politics. I don't wish to have any connection with politics. To whoever who says this, I say, politics is the yug dharma. Politics is your right. Politics is your duty. Just because a bundle of very, very bad people have come and polluted the field of politics, don't blame politics and don't run away from politics. If you don't want to practice politics, how will you get clean air to breathe? How will you get clean drinking water? So politics is not something that is dirty. It is many, many politicians who are dirty. Please blame them. Please fight them. Please oust them. But to do so in a democracy, you have to practice politics. And this is your chance to do so. Are we politicizing this issue? Have you heard any government, an elected government, respond to anything other than political pressure? Every chief minister, every prime minister becomes extremely scared when they feel that voters have turned against them. What Indian citizens must understand is that in this democracy, we are voters and we have rights. And the politicians should be scared of us only if we practice politics. So we are politicizing the issue. We are making elected governments accountable, and they will only feel the need to respond if this is political. They will not respond if 10 intellectuals get up and say that this is the right thing to do.
Yes, sir.
So finally, this is what politics should be. This is also the chance for the nation to discover true alternative politics and get rid of this rotten, this completely termite-ridden form of electoral politics that we have got so disgusted with, and which is why we've started hating politics. We will change the system, we will change the political parties, we will make them responsive. We will create a political system as envisaged in the Constitution of India, not the system that has, not the system that is now being practiced through its sheer corruption and misinterpretation and through the sheer callousness of very, very incompetent people who have risen to power because we, the competent people, have chosen to stay away from politics. Friends, we will change all of this, and this is the time to change it. I go back to that old quotation. If not now, when?
Yes, sir.
If not I, who?
Also, when we are already facing the consequences of staying apolitical, it is the time to be political about it. Which raises my curiosity about Mission Jai Hind even more. So it is a 100-day mission. I would like you to throw some light upon how will it unfold it within its 100 day. What are we gonna do, and how are the events gonna unfold itself? What would be our objectives?
We are looking at this 100-day window in three distinct parts. The first part has started and is the phase where we go out, the 3 R's, we respond, we take responsibility, and we rebuild. So the rebuild part will come later. So this first phase, we will gather experience, share experience, and try to make the government respond. From what we learn from that, we are not going to behave like the chief ministers and prime ministers and say we know everything from in advance. We don't. This first phase will give us the experience to decide and design and implement the second phase, which is the revival phase. Remember, you asked me that how do we revive the economy, and I was cautious in my reply. Similarly, in this 100-day mission, the first phase, let's say 1/3 of the mission, is understanding the problem, is a hands-on understanding the problem, talking to people who are in problem and trying to find solutions. And the second and the third phase are implementing these solutions. So this is the basic design. One part of it is solid now, what we are going to do in phase 1. And the other 2 phases, we have an outline, but we will create it into a hard plan once we gather experience in the first phase, and we shall do it together.
Yes, sir. So in first phase, we'll gather people who are interested in working, and we'll gather information. We'll gather volunteers, so to say. So what if, and of course, you have answered that the hard plan for next 2 phases would be built together. But still, I cannot resist myself from asking this question: that what if there is a state from where we'll get no resources, no volunteers, no, for example, red belt area of Chhattisgarh or Kashmir or northeastern states where we'll not have the access to volunteer, where our message will not reach out. So how will that revive the country when we'll not have the reach to every places in the country?
I can imagine 2 things. One, the sweeping change that Mission Jai Hind brings in will wash over every state of the country, whether or not people have volunteered from not.
Okay.
You see, the power of the positive that we envisage in Mission Jai Hind, the deep feeling within people to change this system now, especially due to their experience during the lockdown and the COVID period, is so intense that I think change is now inevitable. I don't think it is within the power of any Mr. Modi or Mr. Gandhi to stop this change. They can say what they want to, they can make loud noises, but now this is over and beyond all of them, and we are catalysts to that. Now, coming back to states where we do not get resources, for example, Kashmir, let's take Kashmir. It's not that Kashmir does not want to change. It's just that the central government has imposed such conditions for the last 1 year on Kashmir that it is not possible for Kashmiris to work for their own emancipation. There, we shall go and liberate them at some point of time. We will volunteer for them. A young lady from Calcutta will be working for Kashmir. Chhattisgarh will not be left behind. Bastar and Dantewada will face and will receive the same change, the same positive winds of change that Mumbai or Chennai or Delhi receive. It's our job to include India. Having said that, we must also be open to the idea of diversity in India. We mustn't talk like those foolish people and say, one nation, one this, one that. There will be diversity. I'll be very happy to debate Mission Jai Hind with anyone. And I hope that that debate exposes my errors and corrects me. Because I want Mission Jai Hind to be stronger and stronger. And the more alternative views, the more views contrary to what we are saying and thinking come, the stronger Mission Jai Hind becomes. This is an evolving and alive ideology. That's the beauty of it. It is not cast in stone. It is not Mr. Marx's book written 150 years ago, which many people in this country want to follow without a word of change.
Yes, sir. So no state would be left behind. That would at least be our aim about it. So, you know, imagining that after these 100 days we have accomplished all that we had to, and we are able to uh, do what we were thinking, what we are thinking right now. Imagining that situation, I would like you to answer that what will that achieve finally? What would be the accomplishment of Mission Jai Hind after it ends? How would things change? What would be the turnaround? It is a hypothetical question, but what would finally we'll achieve out of Mission Jai Hind?
At
After
the end of 100 days, every Indian will believe that India can change. This system can change. We don't have to live with this politics that we see now. We don't have to live with this administration that we see now. We don't have to be helpless sufferers in the hands of a callous, careless administration. If we take people up to that point, Mission Jai Hind has succeeded. You see, today we are facing hopelessness. Our first task is to build hope, not on the basis of hoax and magic, but on the basis of shared reality and experience. That's what Mission Jai Hind is. We will rekindle hope. We will make every Indian hopeful that no, I can work to change my country, and my country is better than the best. We don't have to be underdeveloped, developing, and all of that. We are the most developed nation in the country, and we have the potential to do so. Not because some politician is saying so, but because I am working myself to make it happen. We do not have to listen to slogans like "Achhe din aayenge." We do not have to believe in some charlatan saying that I will take you to the land of gold. We will create our own India that makes us happy, that makes us contented. That's our own Vikas.
rightly said so, sir. Let's hope that after Mission Jai Hind, we'll not feel as helpless as we do now, and there would be some accountability, some system, some sense to the chaos that is now there, and um, we'll all come together and be the catalyst to that change.
We'll do it, Saumya. It'll happen. I assure you it'll happen.
Yes, sir. Anything that you would like to add before? I guess we'll just end the conversation after this.
We've spoken a lot. I don't think there is anything to add except that belief is the foundation of action. Action is the foundation of achievement. Achievement is the foundation of every happiness that we can conceive. We want India not just to be a prosperous country, but to be a happy country. And in the hands of people who pit one against the other, we can never expect happiness for all Indians. Mission Jai Hind will actually unify India in its happiness, not in its language, not in its religion, not in its clothes, not in its culture, but one big, happy, unified India is what Mission Jai Hind will achieve. And it is the people who will do it, not some great star, not some great towering leader, but the power of one, the power of every individual, when combined and collectivized, that is what we will show to the world. That will be our gift to the world. India will once again prove to the world that we can be happy, peaceful, and we can achieve all this by ourselves. We don't need great dictators. We don't need great leaders. We don't need great visionaries. We, the people, are the biggest visionaries. We, the people, have created all the great things that the world sees today. Nobody remembers who invented fire. Nobody remembers who invented wheel. So this Mission Jai Hind is a tribute to the unnamed, unknown Indian who will make India great once again.
Yes, sir. So India would be made great once again in the terms of its happiness, which is such a beautiful thing to be said, to be even imagined in this time. So, thanks to you, sir. Thanks to Swaraj India for coming up with Mission Jai Hind and everything, all the FAQs, all the presentations, everything that we need to know is already in Swaraj India page. I would urge all the viewers to go and check that out. And Jai Hind, sir.
Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.